Since Monday's general election, that's 3 days from when I'm recording this, I have been on 7 different interviews or podcasts where I've been asked, is Alberta separation a real threat? And I would have to say yes, it is. But it's not an imminent threat. It's not as though we're going to pick up in Alberta and leave the country right away. But I've had this one survey thrown in my face several times. It was done by the Angus Reid Institute about 6 weeks ago, and it said Alberta's interest in independence is about the same as the interest in independence in Quebec. It's about 30% in both provinces. And lots of commentators have said, well, it's only 30%. You can't leave the country with only 30%. And look, it's the same as Quebec, and Quebec is in no danger of leaving right away. That's true. But think about it this way. In Alberta, there is no independence movement. There's no separatist party. There is no leadership of a separatist movement. And still, the interest in independence is at 30%. If you give Alberta a leader who is interested in independence, you give them a party and a movement that's dedicated to separating from the country, and you give us an issue, you can't say for sure that there won't be a separatist movement that's successful in Alberta in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years. That's how serious it is. And I don't think, Jacques Parizeau, who was one time the head of the separatists in Quebec, said that Quebec independence, Quebec sovereignty was an endless trip to the dentist because it was painful, but it never, ever ended. I don't think it would take that long if Alberta decided to become independent. Because unlike Quebec, Alberta is not dependent financially on the rest of the country. So don't take the threat idly. But at the same time, too, don't dismiss it. Don't say, oh, it's never going to happen, or you should be happy in Canada. Why are you so unhappy in Alberta? Well, I can tell you that for the last 50 years, more often than not, the federal government has been hostile to Alberta. It has intruded into provincial jurisdiction to try and stop us from doing things that we would like to do, mostly on natural resources, certainly, but sometimes also on education. If it intruded in Quebec the way it intrudes in Alberta, Quebecers would be up in arms even more than they are. But the other difference is, if Quebecers were up in arms, Ottawa would do something about it. They'd say, oh my goodness, don't leave. Oh, please don't leave. We'll do whatever you want in Quebec. When we get uppity in Alberta, the response very often from Ottawa is, you Albertans are always so dissatisfied. I'm just tired of your whining. That is the response that we get. And that is the response that puts people off the most. So what happens if Mark Carney, the newly elected prime minister, says, our transition to green technology is going so well. Our green energy plans are so good, producing so many benefits. We don't need another pipeline. We're going to continue on with the Trudeau government's decisions to try and end the oil and gas business. I think that's what he's going to do. I frankly think that's what he's going to do. He has Stéphane Guilbeault, who was Trudeau's environment minister, a very radical environmentalist, as his lieutenant in Quebec. I think they're going to say at some point, it just bothers Quebec too much, the idea of having a pipeline there. So it's okay because, our conversion to wind, solar, and bug burps or whatever other other green alternatives are going to use, it's going so well. We don't need a pipeline. We'll just build an electric grid across the country instead, and that will power the future. Carney, going back to the time when he was governor of the Bank of England, has said most of the oil that's currently in the ground must stay there for the good of the planet. We cannot extract it and burn it. That would be too hard on the environment. So I think you're going to see this fight between Ottawa and Alberta continue. And I think you're going to see Ottawa take a position that the best way for us to fight the American trade threat is for us to get even bigger into green energy, to spend even more money building EV battery plants, even more money with wind turbines and solar panels. And we're going to try still as a country to shut down the oil and gas business. Don't try and make it cleaner. It is pretty clean already. We already have amongst the cleanest energy extraction in the world. But don't try and get it better. No. Shut it down. For the good of the planet, to make the environmentalists happy, let's shut it down. And we'll work on new green future technologies. And I tell you, at that point, that's the kind of issue that drives Albertans crazy. And we might just decide at some future point that we've had enough. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want to leave Canada. But Canada has a role to play in helping Alberta stay, just as Alberta has a role in trying to stay. But at this point, the directions of Ottawa and Alberta are diverging. They're not uniting, and I don't care what Mark Carney says about what a great uniter he's going to be. If he's going to continue the same anti-oil, anti-Alberta, anti-development policies of his predecessors, then he's not going to unite Alberta with Canada. For Post Media, I'm Lorne Gunter.